All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee Review. It is a sunny and beautiful August 15th, and we're back. So we did have to skip a day because Michael and I were both traveling to the mothership in Little Rock, Arkansas, because we missed DJCG so much we couldn't possibly stand it. So we had to go see her again and join our other ATG people. But when we did that, Michael was kind enough to make a video about dynamic stamps, and that was sort of a teaser about what we're going to talk about today. So as we move across today, as always, if you haven't been here in a while or you haven't joined us before, please ask any questions. This is all about a community thing. So if you've got any questions about Bluebeam, Revu, subscriptions, licenses, how all that stuff works, fire away in the chat. Otherwise, Michael and I will get started talking about dynamic stamps here in just a minute. But before that, good morning, Michael. How's it going today, bud?
Good. Better. Last week was a little rough. Got a cold. I don't know, it was from flying back because it didn't sound like too many folks got sick. This was one of the worst ones. I don't know. I did a lot of research because I was wondering if I was going to get better. But basically, since, the pandemic, some of us haven't been sick very often. So the summer cold was definitely harder on me than any cold I've had. It lasted 7 days. It was pretty wild, but excited to be back and to talk about some dynamic stamps. So this will not be about the JavaScript area. We're not going to go too deep into there. So we will want some time from you all if you do have questions. I do want to pass this back to Artley because there are some things that are going to be happening here in the near future. Us here at ATG and just MCR in general, we try to get you as much information of changes coming. And I think this will be the last change, I would say, from this whole SaaS-based company change from Bluebeam. But we want to make you aware. And again, we've said this before, and we appreciate all of you being aware of reading through the lines of what we're talking about and just being aware of what is happening and what will be coming in about a month.
Mm-hmm. So let's just get that out of the way then. Right. So, there's been changes. We've moved from the perpetual model to the subscription model, but some of those things are still okay if you've got the right license, right? So if you have active maintenance on your perpetual licenses, so you must have active maintenance. We've warned you about this time and time again, but if you still have active maintenance, you can add additional perpetual licenses until
Don't give dates. Don't give dates.
Let's just say before the month of Halloween.
There, I like that one.
Right. That's the last time. You can get your one last chance to get your perpetuals. Now, why the heck would you do that? That seems awfully silly to buy another perpetual. Because there's the whole, I'm scared of subscription. Everybody's going to subscription, blah, 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 blah. It's not that bad. You get benefits. There's reasons to do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off, as David's saying in the chat, right? So if you have active maintenance, you have an opportunity to buy another license, which will then be able to be traded in for subscription. You're going to have to go to subscription in the next year or two. Probably be a year and a month or two.
A year. Yeah.
The end of sale was announced, which means the end of life is right around the corner, right? So if you have hesitations to going to subscription, let's have a conversation about it, right? What's the downside? I think a lot of people are stuck with the whole, well, I bought it, I own it. Hey, I get that. Totally get that. I also own a disk of Windows 95 in my closet, right? I should probably throw it away. It's of no use. Most computers don't even have a disk drive in them anymore. So what am I supposed to do? Perpetual is where everything's going for two reasons. One, obviously, let's just talk about it. It ensures the company has annual income, right? That's a good thing for them because they can then use that money for R&D, which is providing the updates, providing the enhancements, making the software work better for us all. So it's not like you're stuck with one thing. You are getting new things out of it. You're getting more reliable service and all that other stuff too. right?
And yeah, and you're getting SSO. So you're able to sign in up to 5 devices. Some firms are saving some money because they were buying multiple licenses for multiple computers. Now, if you're an individual that has a remote laptop and a desktop, you only need one because you can sign in up to 5 devices. But just in the near future, something will be happening where you will no longer be able to buy Review 20 licenses. And then that's the end. Review 20 was the last legacy of perpetual licenses. So just being aware that that will be going away. So if you did want to up and add your licenses before this new transition, because Review 19 is completely phased out, Review 20 is that last standing one. There is no trade-in right now. They had a trade-in value before. We've tried telling a lot of folks as much as we can of where those future items were going, but officially those were done. You can't get any trade-in value. The only thing you can do right now is if you still are on active maintenance, you can buy additional Review 20 licenses, which will be going away here soon. So just be aware of that. That is the last change in terms of this perpetual phase out to going into SSO.
Right. So Brian's got in the chat, maintenance bills coming up. Should we continue the maintenance, or is there a benefit to having 20 on maintenance when we switch to 21? Right. This question comes up quite a lot, so I'm glad you asked this, Brian. There's really, I'm torn on the answer to this one. What would you say, Michael?
You're gonna pay maintenance. So if you have Review 20 and you have active maintenance, you're not going to stop your maintenance. If you do, then that means you're not going to be getting the discounted rate that you get for having active maintenance prior to the transition to Review 21. If you just stopped your maintenance, then you would have to buy Review 21 seats at their full cost. If you have active maintenance with Review 20 and you're switching, you're accepting the new subscription cost, you actually only pay your old maintenance cost, which is the old subscription cost, at a net 10% gross, promised for 5 years. But if it goes past that 10% additional cost, then it would actually take 10 years for you to reach the existing cost of the complete tier.
Right.
Hopefully that answers that.
So there's no benefit to staying on maintenance with Review 20. You want to jump and take that.
Oh,
you want to take that.
Was the question.
You want to take that jump to 21 as soon as you can, because instead of paying full retail for that subscription, you're just going to pay your maintenance cost.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like 25% or 20% of retail. So like, yeah.
Yeah. Because you accept the new subscription, you don't have to immediately transition. But when you accept the transition, it's for that whole serial key and product key and serial number. I said them backwards, dyslexia, you tell, right? You're going to accept it for that full license tier. So if you have, 100 standards, you can't just say, I want 50 of those standards. It's that whole specific contract. But if you have a mix of standard and extreme, then you can pick which ones you want to go over. But once you accept the new subscription cost, it doesn't end your Review 20. They give you time. They do say as soon as possible. I'm still rocking Review 20 and Review 21, if that gives you a little insight. So I would assume when they finally phase out Review 20, they will, they'll just deactivate those licenses. But as of right now, you can do both side by side, or you can accept the new subscription tier. A couple of you can work in Review 21 to see how it is as you're adding licenses, which is users, to the portal to get you all set up for everyone to finally switch at some point.
Right. And there's no difference. Like there's no massive change between 20 and 21. So most end users, besides the sign-on part, the first time they launch it, are never going to even know. So it's not like it was a big change, like from 17 to 18 or even 19 to 20, where things are a little different. The only difference is signing in.
Yeah, there was a question from someone I did a demo with, and they were wondering the differences. Like, well, what's going to happen with Studio? It's all the same. The only difference now, it's a different install, and you sign in by a user-based license.
Yep. Now, of course, we're just talking about the review product. Additionally, included, you get Bluebeam Cloud and you get Bluebeam University. So there are some good things. Review 20 probably isn't going to get another update for a while. It hasn't reached its end of life, right? When it does hit end of life, it will no longer receive updates, but I don't know what's left to update on it.
Yeah, when they announced the end of sale of Review 20, which they haven't yet.
Yes, they did.
Did they announce it globally?
That's a fine question.
So they haven't announced the end of sale yet.
I got my tiptoe shoes on right now.
Yeah. They haven't announced end of sale yet. And when they do, a year from then is the end of life, which means they do not support it anymore. So I don't know if they're going to do an update between end of sale, end of life. It doesn't seem, I don't know what their strategic mission would be for that. If they did, because they put R&D in something that's going to reach an end of life in a year when they announce an end of sale, which be aware something like that may happen soon. Is 21 on global training. 21 is not on there. We've been using it since last September. So all of our videos, all of our things that we've shown here is Review 21.
Correct. All right. So with my tiptoe shoes on, here we go. After, let's say you have until the month of Halloween.
Yeah, there's the tiptoe shoes.
There we go. Right. You have until the month of Halloween. After that time, once we get to Halloween month, Bluebeam will no longer sell perpetual seats of Review 20. They will no longer sell you maintenance. They will no longer sell open licensing, and they will no longer sell enterprise licensing. Right? Let me repeat that. As of that time, you can no longer get perpetual, maintenance, open, or enterprise. All of that stuff is going to be renewed as a cost-neutral upgrade to the complete subscription plan. So you might as well go. So that end of sale has been announced, but it's not going to be broadcasted just like when 19 came out, or the 19 end of sale came out. It was pretty well announced. The reason they're not doing that is because it's kind of confusing right now, right? If you're already on 21, it doesn't affect you, but it's been weird. So that said, traditionally, if you follow Bluebeam's history, the end of sale is usually lights the candle on the end of life. Yeah. Right. Lights the fuse on that end of life. So I would say it's a safe assumption that when that end of sale date comes, before you start to hear Mariah Carey on the radio, maybe, hopefully, right? The end of life.
Know what song you're referring to.
Oh, I know. The end of life will probably be announced by the end of the year, right? Which means you have a year fuse. So that Review 20, I would say it's not going to survive until the end of 2024.
So to answer your question, Bruce, the Review 19 and below end of life moved target a lot. And I think that was more of trying to soften the blow of the transition. I do not see that happening as much for Review 20, since now everyone understands the process of end of sale, end of life, which they didn't really when Review 19 came out or was announced. Sorry.
Right. So Brian is asking, when we upgrade, our extreme license should go to complete, but what about our standard licenses? Do those go to core or basics? And that's a great question, because everything goes to complete, the highest level. Now, this is a good thing, because you're going to still be paying the maintenance cost of those, right? So the maintenance cost of standard is cheaper than the maintenance cost of extreme. But for that same low cost, you're going to be having a full subscription to complete. And you're going to continue to pay that same fee, right? Let's say retail price is $99, right? Next year, it's going to be $110. It's going to go up 10% per year for the foreseeable few years.
Yeah, it's a net 10 gain. So it's 110 times 10%, not 99, your original cost.
Right.
Yeah, we can explore some things real quick today on cloud. If that's, someone said that. Did that thing go away?
And there was a question about is 21 on global e-training yet? And I'm going to go check for you. And then we'll actually get to stamps, which we're here to talk about.
Yeah, there's not much difference again from 21. I did a demo the other day. People were asking. It's the difference being single sign-on. That is the really only big difference. The other one would be cloud, which I do have a white paper. There are some changes that I'll show today that are different than the white paper. But we've also done 2 YouTube videos on our YouTube channel that we've talked about cloud as well and showed that too.
And Michael has an amazing white paper on our ATG website about getting that started. And since he's written that white paper, there's actually been some new features, right? So that's part of that subscription benefit, is that as cloud becomes more robust and gets additional feature sets, you're going to have access to that. So sorry, Michael, you might have to go back and make some updates.
Yeah, I'll have to do some type of an addendum. I don't think we've ever done something like that. Maybe you and I, Carrie, can get CJ can get together and figure that out. Biggest chain and complaint would be the sign in. I haven't signed in more than the one time.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I sign in sometimes when I sign out, but there will also be the ability to integrate into your domain. It's a phased approach for it, so it's not immediate. They're not just doing it for everybody immediately. So that's true single sign-on, right? So basically, you don't have to worry about deactivating a terminated employee and them still having a license via email. If you did that through your domain, it would automatically link back into the portal itself and deactivate the person from a license. So that will happen.
No SAML yet, David. I have no idea what that means. The SAML, but that's come up like 3 times this week already. They have on their website no SAML, SAML, however you say that, no capabilities yet. They didn't bold the yet. They didn't emphasize the yet, but I see the yet, and I see that as a hopeful thing. Let me find that link. I'll put it in the chat.
Any other questions about licenses?
All right, then.
Cool. Oops, I double clicked into this.
I believe so, David. SSO available on all tiers. It'd be too hard to do otherwise.
It is true single sign-on for all tiers.
Oh, and Autodesk doesn't have the premium thing anymore. So you don't need premium for SSO and for Autodesk anymore. That was 6-8 months ago, something like that.
I have no idea what that is, but for review, yeah, you don't have to worry about which tier for single sign-on. It's in all tiers. So I will boot up review, and we will start talking about stamps. So Bruce, to answer your question, I just booted it up for the first time, and I don't have to sign in again. So there may be an issue with your install if you are signing in each time. Perfect. All righty. So again, for all you new folks that may be tuning in, feel free to ask us any questions outside of what our topic is today. We will answer them live here for you all. If you're watching on the tube, join us live so you can get some questions answered. This is a time for you to pick our brain, and everyone that's been a long time listener here that loves to tune in and listen to Jason and me talk. All of our users complain about it regularly, Bruce. So I would just have them send a support ticket because they shouldn't be having to sign in multiple times. No. Each time they boot up review. I just started it today, fresh, signed in to my computer this morning. I didn't have to duo authenticate into review. I just selected it, booted it up, and I'm in. And even my studio's automatically signed in. That's because there's a feature in here that you can say automatically sign in with your review credentials. So I don't have to even worry about studio. If you are coming from review 20 to review 21, Your studio is assigned to your work email, which your work email, well, hopefully that's kind of where my caveat's going to be. If it was assigned to your work email, it's still tied to your same user when you're signing in here. Now, if you did studio sessions or projects outside of your work domain email, they're not going to merge. So,
nope. But that's where that use your review credentials. You can be signed into a different studio than your review, right? So it's kind of interesting, but you should always use your work email for things anyway.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about dynamic stamps. So I did a quick tip video on it. We'll talk more about it today. What I am using is working off of the profiles, and then from profiles, you have different profiles here. I'm working off the Review Advanced profile here to start off what we're going to be talking about today. So if you look at your user interface and it looks a little bit different than mine, that's just because you're on a different profile. But I am going to go and open up a PDF set here, and we're going to go and apply a approved stamp to this PDF set. So in order to go through and apply a stamp, what you need to go through and do is you want to go to tools and stamps. Now, in my stamps here, I have a bunch just from doing demos, having conversations with folks about different things that we can utilize stamps for. But what you are able to do is go down to the bottom and create your own stamp. However, you can edit any existing stamp. Now, what's showing here from my stamps, I would say almost all of them, I think there's like one or two in here, they're all from a folder. So if I changed my folder to a different stamp folder, then those stamps would not show. It would show the stamps that are in that folder. This is the pre-existing location of pointing to stamps that are available for my selection under Tools Stamps from out of the box. So this is what you get from out of the box. It points to right here, your C drive, all the way to Bluebeam software, Bluebeam Revu, 21 stamps. That's where the default save location is, and that's what populates most of these here. Now, there are some one-offs here, and that is because I've imported a stamp. So that will cache that stamp local into the user interface of that session of review. I haven't tested it. If I import it and then I go to a different, I don't know if it ties it to the user ID now with SSO. I haven't tried it where I've gone to like my desktop and signed in to see if I have the same stamp that I imported. I think it's still that cache local import. So this would be if you don't have it live in the stamp folder, but you want it to be part of this pre-selection here, you can use the import feature here to make it show up here. So there are a couple of them. And that's what I'm going to show today. I'm not going to save it to my stamp folder so you can see what the import feature does. But if you want it to automatically show up, whatever stamps you have in your stamp folder will show up here. Okay. So how do I create my own stamp? So all you have to go down and do is hit create stamp here. It's going to bring up its own UI here. You get to name the stamp what you'd like. So we're going to do MCR stamp fun author. So you can title whoever is going to be the one that originally creates these. You have your template here. You have text, text with border, text with date border, text with rounded border. I like the rounded one with some text. You can change the width after the fact if you wanted to, but for this instance, I'm just going to keep the existing widths. We'll cover the different blend modes. The different blend modes are just what happens to that stamp when you apply it. What does that look like in terms of the effect of the stamp on the paper? We'll go through all of these after this. The opacity is just the, I don't know, what would you say, Jason? The density of the color of the font and lines.
Yeah, can you see through it? Will it allow the line work of your underlying PDF to appear, or will it just black it all out? Ooh, good question, Ed. Do they have a batch file to move stamps from one computer to another when a user gets a new machine?
It's a folder, so it would just be pointing to a folder. That would be your BAT file. So wherever the folder is where they point to.
Opacity is equal to transparency.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Bruce. Font color. So what color do you want the font to be for this one? I want it to be black. What is my rounded border going to look like? We'll do, you guys had a Barbie party. So is there a pink, pastel, light magenta? I'll do maybe the violet's kind of close to it. And we'll hit OK. So from here now is the stamp that I created. By default, it will automatically populate the information from the title to the text here, but you can always change it. And you see that rounded border effect that it gave us here. So from here, I'm just going to do MCR stamps fun, and then I'm going to add some date and some information below. So you can either change this text to be dynamic. So whenever you have a text in a stamp, it gives you dynamic information. This is that dynamic stamp part. This is not the JavaScript window that Liz loves to talk about. So I stay clear of that because it's not my expertise. I do dabble in it some of the times. But as we go through here, you have your dynamic option here. You have some things that it can auto-populate once it's placed, like the user, the file without extension. For this one, I am going to do day. Oops, we're not going to actually do it here. Control Z. We are going to go through to here to place this thing. And by the way, let's just say I'll just do this too, because this happens. If you wanted this text to be centered with this, you can do this from, and I think I did this in my quick tip video. It's the last selection. So I selected my text first, then this border. And then what you can do is right click and you can say alignment to the middle and then alignment. Nope, it's the opposite. So I want this first, then this.
I didn't.
I did it the other day.
We always struggle with this one.
Was it this first and then this?
Alex is saying if you right click on something, it aligns to that.
So I just need to make sure I'm right clicking on the actual thing. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. Make sure you right click. It's order selection. I don't think so. It's more of hovering over what you're right clicking.
Okay. So we've done this alignment thing a few times, and every time it's like, wait a minute, how's it go again? So Alex is saying it doesn't matter what order you select them in. It's just whatever you right click on is what gets aligned to.
Yeah. And I right clicked over the border, so it didn't move anything past the border.
Okay.
So there we are. Realignment. Next will be our text. And I'll go through and just put day / well, let's do it correct. Because
we depends
want
on which you're gonna upset some folks here.
Well, I'm doing it the way that I learned. So I'm gonna do year, and then I'm gonna do month / day. Because the day changes more frequently than the month, and the year changes less frequently than the month itself. So that's the way I would be strong opinionated to argue with. Would you agree, Artley?
I think that's supposed to go like biggest, next, goes from right to left with smaller increment and then goes up. But
I go left to right with what is least to change.
Yeah.
So this is going to change most frequently. I think this is definitely a conversation to be had. You go from left to right, left being the less frequent to change to right being the most.
Okay. You've got strong opinions about a quad Y instead of the double Y. Is that an option in there?
Oh yeah, you could do the quad Y. I just was saving I was drawing my inner mat that they're not all equal. So
I'll do
year. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now everybody's happy. Sort's much easier. Interesting. I don't know. Okay.
So if that's the case, then we'll move this up. But yeah, strong opinions on how you should save your file extensions if you have frequent saves per day, not per minute or hour, but per day. You can revert back to it's this which I'm glad folks agree with me. Strong opinions on year, date, month, and then day. If you want to draw your inner OCD of breaks for these, you could do the 2, but some folks are saying it's easier to sort by the full year. Okay. So color.
Oh, can you? Yeah. Good question, Ed. Can you add additional text? So you've added dynamic text, right? All of that in that string is dynamic, but can you put like date colon, have that in the same string, or does that need to be a separate text box like you're adding?
Yeah, I can do Michael with like,
no,
they have
not
hours and minutes here.
No, like the word date, not a dynamic thing, just a static text for date.
Oh yeah. I was just going to add my name and then something else, but we could do date.
Cool. There you go. So yeah, that part doesn't have to be in a different text box or anything like that. There you go.
Okay. So with that, what are we going to do now? So if you were to hit right click, save, it would save as into your default template, where it's that location of where these are saved. And you can see all the ones that I have. And if you delete these, by the way, they get deleted out of that pool of selection. But for this instance, I'm going to show you what happens if someone sends you something. I'm going to save this to my desktop, and that's where it lives. So if I go and look under my tools, stamps, and I go down to M's, I don't see the MCR stamp fund today, right? So for this one, if I did want it to still be here, but it doesn't live in my folder, then how do I get it into here so that it's always here? You can just go to import stamp. And from here, I'm just going to go down to my desktop, grab that MCR fund, hit open. And then now what I want to go through and do is do stamps, and I'll see it here as well. So now I have my MCR fund stamps auto saved here. Now, next step is how do we place it? You can left click to place it at scale. So that's the scale of the stamp itself being brought in. That's what you've created it at. This would be for like your seal. The other one is you're going to go stamp, and then you left click hold. You don't even know you do have to hold. Some tools you don't have to hold. You just left click. It's the first placement, and then you scale it. But left click, hold, drag. This is you saying what scale you want it to be at.
Right. So there's a question when you wrote that text, right? So you had your quad year, your month, your date, and then you added the word date, colon, and it went to double line. You stretched that text box, and then something else happened.
Yeah, I auto sized the text box. So yeah.
So not an Alt Z.
It was an Alt Z.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Control Z. There we go.
Yeah. So in here, when this stretched, it was like this. You just Alt Z.
Ta-da.
And then it auto sizes it.
Auto size text box.
Yeah, there's also command right here too. It's called the same thing.
So before we get back to this, since it was talked about a little bit ago, on my computer, I only have Revu 21 installed, right? But I've had this computer for a long time. And if I go to my program data folder, I still have information from 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So even if you install a new version, your old stamp folder will probably still live there, right? All that other stuff, those crumbs stay back from other ones. They don't get fully uninstalled with the old versions of the software. So if you did have legacy stuff that you need to import, just like Michael showed, and you worried you lost it forever, go dig in your program data under Bluebeam Revu. You're going to see that all the years there, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then 20 and 21. So all that legacy stuff still alive.
Yep. Now with the stamp being placed, we'll talk about the blend mode. So originally you could have created the stamp to auto populate a different blend mode as it's being placed. So we have normal, which is what I pre-selected. There is multiply. No change. Cool. Screen.
Where'd it
Definitely
go?
don't want that. Overlay. And this is that color effect. So where the text is, you'll have it do a color effect. I did the same thing with this stamp to kind of give you a better representation. Let's do this stamp instead, which is just a red background. So you have multiply, screen, overlay, darken, lighten. Ooh, I like that. I did this because somebody wanted the ability to be able to do this in a set area, right? Like I just want that part to be red.
Right, without doing a snapshot, changing color and
Yeah.
having duplicate information on top and trying to get it lined up just perfect. No, this is a good trick.
Yeah, so this is just a stamp with a red border that I drop in for, they want specific areas to be, colored out. So, okay. Anyways, back to where I was going. Another way to use stamps. Color dodge. Color burn. Hard light.
Whoa.
Soft light. Difference. Ooh, a little cayenne. Hue, there's hue lights. We got some hue lights in our house. Pretty cool. But hue does nothing here. So I will tell you the hue light bulbs are pretty spectacular. They do make the ambiance change. So if you ever looking at different light bulbs and things that you could do in your house, the hue lights are pretty cool. Saturation, color.
So only a few of those are going to show up different for this particular exercise, but I'm sure there's a reason they all exist. But I like that lighten one. That's a good trick. Oh, good question, David. What does the highlighted stamp show up like in the markups list?
Oh, it just says stamp. It's what the stamp is.
But you could rename that to revised area or.
Oh, yeah. This is the title of what that stamp is saved as.
Right.
So that is the different blend modes that you can have it pre-populate prior to it being placed, right? If you wanted it to do this automatically when you placed it, and you didn't have to want to come here and change it. When you're creating the stamp, you set the blend mode, and when it's saved, it knows that blend mode as it's being placed.
Right.
So that's the purpose of it.
So on that note, we just talked about, a little bit ago, we talked about moving from review 20 to review 21. And when you do that for the first time, when you log into review 21, it's going to talk about, syncing to the cloud, and it will move your profile to the cloud. Do your stamps follow that?
I don't know the answer to that.
I didn't either. That's why I'm asking you.
Mm-mm. And, I'm still iffy on, I know the one-time go through matches your tool sets, so you can sign in somewhere and get your tool sets. But like, how do you update them? Are you frozen, Arlen?
No.
What are you thinking?
Just getting interrupted. That's fine.
Crickets, speechless. I know. I don't know how you update them, because like if I went to go and sign in on another computer, it was that single push through. I know you can update in cloud now, your tool sets, but like that's a question to be answered, I would hope, somewhere. If I go sign in into my desktop here that I have to my right, I have a work laptop. If I sign into that my home desktop, am I going to get the first original ones that push to the user ID, or are they going to like automatically ping update when you sign in? There's no clear, I haven't seen any clear directive statements on how that user ID updates their tool sets from different desktops or different workstations, I guess is the best term.
Yep.
Agreed, but things change, Alex, right? So what about a year down the road when new things come out? Like, how do you update those?
Yeah. What if we totally find a whole new date syntax? Who knows?
Yeah. So, anyways, that's to be answered. We don't know the answer to that. So if any of you do, please let us know. But till then, if I want to apply the stamp to multiple pages, you can. So if I go and hit apply to pages here, so I selected the stamp, right clicked, apply to pages. You can say what pages you want. So if you want all pages or custom range, we'll do all because I put it near the title block. I'll just hit OK. It doesn't give you like a big bold, I did this for you, Michael, but it is on every single page here. The other way to apply a stamp to batch would be going to your thumbnails. You can select this and you can do apply stamp. This gives you quadrants, and we played around with this the other day. It could be a quadrant, or it can be, if you know the positioning, which, hey, Mike, that's cool, but like, how would I know the positioning? I'm going to go and place it for a position that I want this to be at, like maybe not bottom left. Let's just go put it here. I want it to be on every page right here. You can actually play a little Tetris. You can see it from settings here, that positioning. So we'll do 33 and 18, and we'll just do that and see where it lands. So if I delete this one, go back to here, apply stamp, 3318, that's where I want this to be. So we'll do MCR fun stamp 3318. So 3318 is where it's going to place it. So for positioning, I'll hit OK.
But your anchor was off.
Oh, because my anchor was still on. Sorry.
I wish they make that a little bit bigger, a little bit more
So
obvious.
if my anchor, oh, it's I need the selected page on all pages. So what do you anchor and then put the positioning? I'll just hit OK and see.
It didn't move. Wait,
Oh,
yeah, it
it's
didn't. Interesting. See you, Brian. So while you're messing with that, thanks, Jared, for clarifying. Stamps are not yet supported in Bluebeam Cloud. The toolset push to Bluebeam Cloud is that one-time thing. There's no sync option, and I've asked about that. I don't know if that will be coming, but it is what it is.
So I put 3318. Why did it? Why did it still follow the anchor? Can I unclick an anchor?
Not positive. Is it a relative position? Could be.
Maybe it's like, yeah, relative to the anchor point. I don't know. You'll have to mess with around with that. I'm not going to spend too much time. But if you didn't use the, this positioning and you use this, maybe it's like to the positioning of the overall page itself. I don't know.
Bruce is saying it's the anchors related to the stamp as like an insertion point. Like think of an AutoCAD block with an insertion point. Maybe that's where it's going.
Maybe.
So then you'd want the center one. I don't know. We could spend a whole day messing with this stuff because, yeah. Clever. No, Alex, I haven't seen an update to the ideas portal. So you know how much we love that make a suggestion spot up in review. I don't know if there's like a public roadmap for that. I know Autodesk has been pretty good with their public roadmap, so you can see where it's going, but I haven't seen a Bluebeam one.
Yeah, I know Peter Noah's said they were going to update it. Hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious. Certainly curious.
So those are all removed, but going back, you have that option. The other thing would be, hey, I want to flatten all these stamps. You can. So if you go to your document, flatten, you can pick just stamps. So just check none here, scroll down, stamps, and just have the stamps flattened. Allow markup recovery. And now I can come back and see that these are not movable.
Stuck there forever.
So what else? Any other questions you've been feeding through?
No. Yeah. So there's all sorts of ideas for improvement in the wheels are turning. I would love to see a roadmap, because especially now, when going back to the whole perpetual versus subscription thing, if you could get a teaser about what was coming, I think it would add value to that whole subscription. All right, then.
Sounds like a good marketing initiative.
Might have to
for
text
their
our boy and see
team.
what's going on.
So let's go into here. There's a couple differences in cloud now that weren't here before. There's a settings panel now. So when cloud was released, there wasn't this ability to go through and change some of these things. So such as your discipline selections, you can now go through and add more. They had out of the box, and people were wondering, you know, if I go through and place one of these punches, can I assign a different discipline? Or I think disciplines for RFIs. But going through, can you change any of the settings that were in here? So you can now. So now you can go through and change your disciplines, your scope of work. You can add and remove these, which you weren't able to before. So if you do go look at that white paper, that was changed. Create teams to assign scope of work to a group of users. Now you can organize teams if you wanted to. Integrations panel is now here as well. So if you want to integrate into SharePoint, OneDrive, you know, Box, all that good stuff. Then the other one would be export data. So if you want to export this to a studio project, it exports it out as a, what are those called? PDF package. You can, or any integrations you have. So if you want to export it out to your integrations that you have here, and then you can manage your users from here as well. You can invite additional users from here too. There is not a mass invite yet. So that's probably something they're going to work on. Like, can I just use an Excel file, export your data, create a CSV file for your export of users in there. So that's new. That's that new settings button. That's different than what used to be available. Not much has changed. You can't come into here and do measurements yet. So that feature is not changed as of late. What else has changed from here? Not much. I'm trying to think. Yep, pretty much all the same stuff. As you're looking at it, there is a download feature if you want to just download this specific PDF to get it out and address some of those things. So just being aware. Most of the features are still the same. If you go to your tool sets here, you can still access them. Plus button here to create a new tool set or upload one. Measurements, again, do not work. So if you have any count features or anything like that, or measurement specific icons, they will not allow you to place them in cloud. However, you can place other things, like there's a doorbell here. So let's go to the front and place doorbell. Boom. There we are. So that is what has changed in terms of your ability to go through and change different options in here. So far, again, ever changing every time I come in here. Since I'm not in it every day, there is changes to it that are always coming out.
All right, we got a good question here. While you're in the cloud, can you delete projects yet?
Nope. Right click. Yep.
There you go. Look at that. So you can delete those now. So if you did have a test one, that's a new function. Very helpful. What does delete do? That's a fine question too, right? Because does it send it to a trash can? Does it send it to the abyss? Is it gone forever?
Yeah, I mean, I know with projects, you have like still, even if you delete it, you have 120 days or something like that to get it back. I don't know if there's something like that yet.
Okay, Bruce, good question. So, talking about studio projects, not cloud projects, even though they're similar but different. If someone creates a studio project and they leave the company, how can you change the owner? This has been an issue. Oh, yes, and there's two ways to do this. So the number one way is, let me back up. One way is to contact Bluebeam, and you got to know their user ID and the studio ID, and it might take a week or so. Let's just say 3 days, and they will fix that for you. Or if you have a bigger company, a lot of studio users, you should really be looking at Studio Prime, because Studio Prime will allow you to log in and assign that to anybody, right? Prime's the only way now. Jared is saying that they won't do that anymore. I know we've done it before for clients, but it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, I haven't had to do it for a while. But if you have Prime, it is additional cost. It does open the API to projects and sessions. So if you are a contractor and listening in, you do get access to connecting Procore, which is the predominant GC tool. But in here, you can go through and not members, I guess that would be the wrong one, projects. Any member that's been added, not past ads. So if I added Jason now and he had previous projects, I'm not going to capture them in here. But then once they are brought in, I can go through and look at Artley's and transfer that ownership.
Yeah. Okay. So before we do this, Rihanna went and did a test, deleted one of those test projects from Bluebeam Cloud, and got an email saying that your project test has been deleted and all of its data has been removed from Bluebeam Cloud. No mention of recovery. However, your test or your project still exists in studio projects. It doesn't exist in the cloud project. So, but whatever you did might be different.
Yeah, just think of review and cloud separate.
Right.
So in the cloud application, there's no recovery, but in projects there's still a backup recovery on Bluebeam's cloud for like 120 days, I think.
Right.
Don't quote me on the days, but it's 100 and something.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some still confusion in the chat, and I think in the industry. What's the difference between a cloud project and a studio project? And the short answer is they're different.
So projects is storage. Think of projects like Dropbox. Sessions is live collaboration. They're two different AWS storage buckets in the cloud. Sessions, you can actually go into a session and transfer ownership from there of markups directly in the session itself. Projects is storage, unlimited storage. And then if you reach like 10 gigs, it says you'll have latency issues. But once you're in here, this is more of a storage. So you get to store any file types you'd like.
Right.
So live collaboration on 2D or 3D PDFs, that's all Sessions works with. Projects works with any file type storing files. Document storage. Think of it like SharePoint.
Magical, magical, magical.
Okay. I think that answered everything.
I think so.
All righty. Any other questions? Anyone have anything burning for the last 5 minutes of something they're not able to do, or they have any issues with their current workflows? Feel free to ask. This is the time. This is all for you.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left here. Jared, you're on it with the Studio and Bluebeam Cloud comparison guide. Look at that. I don't know if I've even seen that link. Oh yeah, I have. That's a good one to have.
That's when they first released
arsenal. Hey, look, it's in my bookmarks already. Yeah, are you looking for a job, Jared? Or do you already work for Bluebeam?
it.
All right. David saying there's for the community. You chapter 2 is having a tool building workshop this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect. So if you want to post a link to that, who said that? David?
Yeah. David, if you got a link to that, go ahead and put that in the chat. So Troy over at U Chapter 2 is going to have that tool building workshop. He does a lot of custom tools, and he's got some free ones that you can download on the website. But if you want to learn how to do more yourself, if you have the time for said things, go check that out. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, Jared's already a Bluebeam employee. Well, thanks, Jared, for stopping by.
All right. We talked about a lot today. So we're supposed to talk about stamps, which we did. We talked about subscription versus perpetual and maintenance and all that other stuff. Jared, hopefully I didn't get in trouble with my tap dancing shoes on. And then we talked about Bluebeam Cloud. We talked about Studio and how that works. As always, we're here for you guys, the community. So if you've got any questions, comments, suggestions, whatever, we want to hear it. What do you want to learn more about? Do you like this format of just free for all, doing what we're thinking, as we did today? Or would you like the more structured? We are doing the whole thing we're doing that whole thing every other week, doing Espresso Yourself. So we will have a new guest next Tuesday, where that will be the more interview conversational basis and not quite as technical. And then we'll flip back and forth. But
yeah, Alex, we won't mention dates. We'll just say something's coming for it. So
yeah. You got an email from another reseller saying, oh, that's naughty, because that's definitely not allowed.
Yeah.
So out them, please. No, just don't.
No. We don't, we like to give you as much information as we are allowed to, as soon as we are allowed to. We just can't give dates, but something will be coming up for that. So
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Well, let's see. What do we got coming up next? Let me pull up our little topics. Let me give you a little teaser about what's coming. I know we just talked about future things, but we've got a whole list of things coming up the corner. So to close us out today, we talked about dynamic stamps. Next one's going to be managing custom tool sets and how they interact with profiles. I think that was one of the things you asked about, Bruce. We're going to talk about estimation and takeoffs, markups, dynamic fill, collaboration, customization, studio projects and sessions, tips and tricks, all the things that we like to do. And I think we'll probably sneak in some other good tips and tricks in that short format that we've done before as well. So
yeah, I went through the list. So there is a survey at the end, and what you all put in there, I added to our list of things to come up. So we do listen to those surveys. I do read them every single time because DJ CJ sends them to us. She takes the time to put that all together for us and give us a report so that we know how we're doing, right? So we can't be better at what we do here on MCR if we're not getting feedback and listening to that feedback. So if you do have any feedback or you do have something you want to learn, please leave it in those Excel sheets. Well, sorry, it's a survey. We see it as an Excel sheet. So comment, let us know how we're doing. We can't be better at what we do every day here at MCR and ATG if we don't get feedback. So we love constructive feedback. Just don't give us something that is a rating with not a comment that is low, because then we can't know what we didn't do right for you.
Exactly. And, if you want to pop on as one of our guests for Espresso Yourself, throw your name in the hat. We'd love to have a conversation with you, just like we did last week with David. So that'd be super good. Jared, maybe you want to be on deck, huh? There we go. So right on. Well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying what's left of the summer. I know the kids are starting to go back to school, and it's starting to get a little chill in the air, and the downs turn into winter is coming soon enough. So be safe, enjoy what's left of the summer, go have a good time, and we will see you next Tuesday. Same bat channel, same bat station.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See ya.